Let me just start again by first of all thanking you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I know driving's hard. One of our speakers, Joel Uhas, who's the CEO of St. Mary Medical Center in Long Beach, is working his way here now, and Esther's communicating with him on my phone, so he'll be here at some point. But I do want to thank everybody for coming, particularly thank our speakers, and I'll introduce them to you tonight. Look, tonight what we want to do, to be clear, and what I've been asked to do by Dr. Torrens, is to have a conversation with you. So I didn't bring a lot of really cool, slick consultant slides. I apologize in advance to those of you who love really cool, slick consultant slides. I left those at home, and it's really going to be more of a conversation. I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about, kind of lay out the framework for what we're going to talk about tonight, and then Dr. Sarita Mohanty and Roland Fargo and Joel Uhas will each tell you a bit about really what it means in their world when we talk about costs and trying to reduce global costs. And then we're just going to open up and have a discussion with you all, and we got a couple of microphones. So, housekeeping, if you want to use the restrooms, they're straight out that door, a little jig to the right and back on the kind of the right-hand side of the wall over there. We want to also start and thank our sponsors. So, very big thanks to Jack Schlosser, Richard Snikel. We all know these folks. These are all alumni, so all the alumni are big supporters. So, big thanks to our supporters, Blue Shield of California, Artie and his wife, Mike and Gail Galper, Health Policy Management Alumni Association, Kaiser, Frank and Diana, of course, wonderful supporters, Jesse Sherrod, and of course our own Dr. Paul Torrens, and of course Cedars-Sinai has been a big supporter over the years. So big thanks to our sponsors, without whom this wouldn't be possible. I also actually just wanted to ask you guys to wish good thoughts with me. So raise your hand if you know Dr. Torrens. A few of you, right? Like totally special guy, all roads lead to Paul. Well, he's not feeling well today, and so think good thoughts. Let's hope he gets better soon. So that's why he's not with us tonight. So with no further ado, going to get going. Joel will come in at some point. I'm going to do a very brief introduction of the panelists, but then I'm going to introduce them in a little more detail each time as they get up, and then we'll take it like that. So I'm going to start by introducing and asking if she can please stand up Dr. Sarita Mohanty. There's Joel. Just in case you thought you could sneak in without me noticing. Well, actually, maybe before he gets fully seated, we'll introduce Mr. Joel Uhas. So, and Mr. Roland Fargo. And we'll get into details as we go. The setup today, by the way, we're not going to have our speakers sit at the table only because we don't want the heads to hit the screen with the live streaming, because it is like Saturday Night Live, except it's not Saturday night. So they're going to come over here and talk, and we'll work it out. And then they'll come sit up there when we do the Q&A session. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about. What are we here to talk about tonight? We're here to talk about healthcare costs, right? Everybody loves to talk about healthcare costs, right? That plus like state of California teachers' pensions and Social Security is what keeps us all up at night, right? If we ever hope to live to be grandparents. It's a lot of costs, not a lot of waste management. And I love this, this cartoon because I think this cartoon gets to the point that we don't have a magic bullet yet to reduce costs. And so tonight, you're not going to learn the magic bullet for reducing costs. So everybody can leave now, right? No, that's not what it's about. What we want to talk about tonight is really how we should be looking at costs. So in healthcare, traditionally, we've looked at costs on an episodic basis, or at the very best, maybe an institutional basis. So how much is it costing per visit, or how much does it cost me to run my hospital? And what we haven't traditionally looked at, and when I say we, the provider side of the world, we haven't looked much at the costs that happen outside of our purview. In other words, people who work for us, places you can visit that are ours, we understand that cost. We don't really pay a whole hell of a lot of attention to the costs that are outside of those areas, decisions that our members and patients make when they're not in a doctor's office or a hospital, et cetera. And so as we start to talk tonight, what I want you guys to think about is how much time the average person spends in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility or a doctor's office in the course of a year. Because when Medicare or Medicaid or an employer, when they pay for health insurance, they're not paying for the hospital visit, they're paying for everything. I'm giving you health plan, a chunk of money, take care of this person. And so the reason I ask you to think about that is that in today's healthcare world, we still tend to think about how are we making the hospital visit better, how are we making the doctor's office visit less expensive, how are we coordinating care but there's not as much thinking about what kinds of things are happening outside of our walls and between our walls that are causing global costs to go up, causing people to get readmitted, causing people to use expensive drugs, causing people not to take their medicine and get sick. So I want you all to think about that, and that's really kind of some of the theme for tonight. Okay? So we have to change, has to get cheaper, but change can be scary. Okay? Really, is this scary? It's really scary.
There's red wine.
There is red wine. There is red wine. I want to point out how scary this is. This is some green animal that I don't understand what it is, and 2 zombies. So change can be scary. No, this is my family, obviously. They are pretty scary. I'm scarier, but I'm not in the picture. So, but the point is that if you've been, it's not just the people. I work in healthcare all over the country all the time, talk to different people, and it's funny. Healthcare has a momentum, like any business. Well, like anything that's the largest component of the gross domestic product, right, is healthcare. There's a momentum, and it's really scary to change. But hey, there's a lot of things going on. So you guys notice what color this is, right? By the way, right? Who's here is from USC? Ah, my wife's from USC too. It doesn't count. Okay, you good. We're not going to make USC colors. So I think the key thing to remember is that even though change is scary, there are lots of reasons we have to change, right? And so, this is my one, like maybe a little consulting slide, right? But there are all these things happening. So what's happening? I mean, we're seeing decreased reimbursement rates. Well, what do I mean by decreased reimbursement rates? Well, I mean, the health plans, most of which are publicly traded entities and their core mission has to be profit, they're looking for ways to ratchet down how much they're paying providers and deny claims. So there's less reimbursement sometimes available. A lot of competition consolidation. I mean, it seems like there will be 4 health plans left in the entire country, right, for like 370 million people. So huge consolidation in the marketplace, health systems consolidating, everybody's consolidating to get a leg up on the other one, and so it's this constant nuclear arms race. Healthcare costs, again, are continuing to increase despite the fact that there's been a lot of work done. The growth rate leveled a bit, but it's still growing. Affordable Care Act, that's a whole course in and of itself. We're not going to go through it tonight. I mean, we expanded care, we have all these new rules. Ask a hospital administrator if they really understand everything that came out of that act and how it impacts them. They'll probably look at you like this, or, well, I got a newsletter from my association, I kind of understand. There's a lot going on there. I mean, huge changes, none of which have really permeated the markets yet. We have all these new covered patients, and we have this whole new thinking for healthcare providers now of maybe they're a member. Think about it. What is it? I mean, how many of you belong to a gym? Raise my hand. Do any of you belong to 24 Hour Fitness? Is your club clean? Mine sucks. Okay, that's a different story. But no, I mean, so if you think about gym memberships, right? I mean, people buy a gym membership, they go to the gym occasionally, and they kind of don't go. I mean, there are a few of your friends. You probably have a friend who's a gym member. My friend Joe Maggi in New York, he's a gym member. I mean, he's in there every day. I know because I see it on Facebook. Every day, same gym, right? He's a member. He goes there. But most people are kind of gym visitors, right? And so in healthcare, we've always had visitors. Like, they get admitted, they're here. It's really kind of cool. Healthcare has changed a lot since when I first started, when I was really young. Not that I'm not young still, but when I was really young, we didn't even talk about patients by name. It was like that thing over there that we might put a sheet on, that has a liver issue. So we've gotten better at treating people with more dignity and at least recognize them as individuals in the system. But again, when they walk out the door, we don't really think about them. So this whole idea of maybe they're a member, maybe there's someone assigned to me and they're part of my club, and I'm supposed to keep in touch with them, like the BMG record clubs that probably most of you weren't born yet when that used to be a magazine. But there's a whole dialogue around membership versus patients that we're working with. New technologies. I mean, it's funny, as a consultant, I get 3 or 4 calls a week from a technology firm that wants to let me sell their services to somebody. I mean, there's so much technology. It's overwhelming how much technology there is. And in healthcare, folks are constantly told they have to find the next best technical solution. They're inundated with vendors trying to give them the next solution, and they're constantly implementing solutions that then don't work but are very expensive. So huge challenges there, and big expectations on what they have to do with relation to EHRs and other things. Members, patients, so again, going from a place where, as a patient, you were lucky to get my attention because I'm the damn nurse or I'm the damn doctor or orderly, you're just a patient, this is my house, my hospital, you don't really have any rights here, to now, they can look me up on the app and see what my Yahoo ranking is, right? I mean, if I'm a doctor, it's a whole different world now. So, first of all, banking, right? I go to Japan with my wife, I look at my account which says 0, but I can see that it says 0 and not withdraw money on my phone. Whereas in healthcare, right, I mean, unless I'm a Kaiser member, good luck finding my results, finding my doctor's notes. It's really hard to get a hold of. So, but what's happened is because of banking and other industries and Yelp and Chowhound, people are beginning to say, wait a minute, why can't I expect this from healthcare? You mean you can't give me a price? So there's a different set of expectations from our members now we have to deal with. And then finally, there are opportunities, and I'm really excited to have you hear from Joel and Roland and Sarita about some of the things they're doing. There are unique opportunities to change. So in upstate New York, where we do a lot of work, they're looking at how do we engage the community in healthcare. That's a different, you know, the community was who we gave a grant to once in a while to get them to shut up and stop coming to the hospital and asking for money. But now it's like, well, wait a minute, how, you know, it's a substance abuse agency, and we actually would like for the person to stop taking drugs and ending up in our ER because before, the truth was, whenever the person overdosed and came to our ER, we got paid. That was really good, you know, as long as they had commercial or Medicare or insurance. But now we actually want these people to stay healthy, and we're incentivized because we maybe get prepayment for them to get them their substance abuse treatment, their housing. So there's a whole different thinking going on with relation to how healthcare providers partner with the community. So those are some of the external forces. Mostly they look cool because they're UCLA. So where's the market going? This is, in my opinion, where the market is going. And this is, and you guys all know, a lot of you I can see are students, either that or I'm just getting really old. So a lot of you guys are students, right? And so you're coming into a market that is just changing so fast. It's just, I mean, it really was stale for a while. I mean, 20 years ago, healthcare was reasonably, you could kind of understand how it was going. It was pretty slow moving. You know, there really was that whole idea of the 2-martini lunch. It's a different world now. And so, first of all, the core business models are changing. Literally, and this is important to think about because how many of you think that doctors don't have mortgages? Right? Don't have kids put through college. Hospital administrators, they get paid irrespective of whether the hospital makes money. I mean, the problem is that the way in which people make their money, the way in which they get their paycheck is changing. It's really scary. And so what's happening is we're trying to align payment with the right behaviors. In doing so, we've introduced about 100 different variations. And so we used to say, you know, there's a foot in two canoes where you've got maybe capitation or you've got fee for service. What's happening now is that providers getting paid all different kinds of ways. So, but we're trying to change alignment. We're trying to get a reduction in per member use of extensive acute care services. So what we're saying is, again, if you look at members, if my hospital system is responsible and we get prepaid for, say, 500 people, those are our members now. We're responsible for their costs. My job is not just to reduce their hospital utilization, it's to reduce their total global costs across the system. We're looking at tight networks. You guys have probably read in the news, you know, this whole idea of narrow networks. So we're looking at narrowing and tightening our networks down so we can have costs that we understand and quality we understand. There's a radical shift. I mean, Montefiore is one of our clients in New York. They're national leader in ACOs. And CMS went out to them and said, good job, we're so proud of you, you've reduced hospital utilization, you've saved money. By the way, about 70% of what you're doing now in the doctor's office and hospitals needs to go out to the community in the next decade. Get it done. So huge, huge change. So healthcare is local. I had to show this slide, I'm sorry. I love this slide. I built this slide for New York, obviously. But the point of the slide is also, with all this, healthcare is local. There aren't national solutions. If there are, by the way, I'm a bad consultant and someone should tell me and I'll go sell it. But healthcare is local. So this is my New York healthcare is local thing, right? Isn't that cool? Are you guys going to vote for that guy? He's awesome. I love him. Anyway, so this is something you can look at in your spare time when you've got better things to do. It's funny, actually, Roland and I, and Sarita for that matter, we did work together years ago. And we were building a network here in Los Angeles, trying to get hospitals and doctors and stuff to work together. Financial incentives were not there yet. But I was looking back at some of the roadmap we had, and it's the same thing. So another thing I think you should know as we go forward is that it's not that folks in healthcare haven't known what they need to do. They haven't been paid correctly to do what they need to do. And honestly, the whole system takes a long time to move. And then when the system finally starts to move, and it looks like they're going to pay people to do the right thing, they offer them 100 different flavors, and it's really hard to figure out which one to choose. So this is more a slide to remind us that, you know, what goes around comes around. Healthcare is very cyclical. Okay, key takeaways: less money per member per year. Okay, members, a patient for whom they're assigned to a system, that a system's responsible for their care, they get what's called prepayment. we have to reduce the amount globally per person per year. That's our goal. We're moving from fee-for-service to managed care. It used to be that as a doctor or a hospital, you build Medicare, you build CMS directly. Not going to happen anymore. More and more, there's a health plan in the middle, which means there's a capped dollar. You can't just bill the feds until the feds run out of money. And same thing with the state with Medicaid. Exchanges are all managed care, et cetera. More collaboration. Folks are trying to figure out how to proactively make people well rather than just taking care of them when they're sick. Well, that's a big, outside of Kaiser, that's a big deal. That's really, really new to a lot of us, especially since we don't get paid for that. I talk to a lot of clients, and there's this challenge of like, hey, right now we're getting paid per visit, and if we reduce total cost, Anthem's going to make a bunch of money and their shareholders will look great, and we're not going to get anything for it. Should we be doing it? Should we be reducing global costs when we know a for-profit health plan is the only one that benefits? How do we make it happen? So again, reconsidering core business. This is not your grandparents' managed care experience. For most of you, it's not your parents anymore. This is not your grandparents' managed care experience. The 90s were wishful thinking. As I talk to folks around the country, why didn't it work? You'll say, folks, hey, you need to get into managed care, population health. Oh, we tried that in the 90s, it totally sucked. What do you mean you tried it in the 90s? Well, the health plan gave me a contract, they told me it was the right cost, and I lost money. Well, first you trusted the health plan. Second, people didn't have health information technology, care coordination. They weren't building networks to really manage care. They were just signing contracts blindly. So that's my overview in a nutshell. And I am going to ask Roland to come up and talk with you folks.